What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cigars and Whiskey for our next review. Today's review is going to be a cigar that I had went over. I actually have reviewed it, but it was a few years ago. And a lot of times I like to review them, revisit some cigars that I had or have tried or I smoked quite a bit just to see how much of a difference they've been in the last few years. Because as everyone knows, that cigars are kind of like wines. Depending on the soil and the climate and the weather and all that, it definitely affects different years, gives different little bits of profile. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and go through that. But the cigar that I'm picking is by My Father. It is the Jaime Garcia Especial. And it's one of these cigars that is a broadleaf Maduro wrapper, but it is all Nicaraguan. It is Nicaraguan long filler for the binder and the filler. But for those who don't know, long fill tobacco is obviously tobacco that's longer than, say, for instance, machine cigars that have like a chopped tobacco. So long filler gives you a better quality of the cigar, sometimes a longer burn, a little more of a profile so you can enjoy it a little more. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into this Toro, and I'll be right back with the pre-draw. All right, everybody, before we get to the pre-draw, we're going to go ahead and cut it up. I'm going to be using a straight cut guillotine, two-bladed, and, you know, it just all depends on what you want to do. Punch it, cut it, bite it, whatever. It's just all your preference. I just prefer a lot of mine because I like the fact that when you do a double guillotine or a guillotine cut, you get a lot more smoke from the foot of the cigar. I mean, not from the foot, but from the top where the cap was. You get a better draw, a lot more of an experience. But that's what, again, that's just my opinion. Everybody, you smoke it the way you like it. And let's go ahead and get into it. So the cigar, as we said earlier, it is a dark chocolatey Maduro wrapper. Again, Nicaraguan. And the first thing I get on the pre-drop is like a sweet apricot, like a dried apricot profile. And then as you draw a little more, you start to get a little bit of a coffee espresso. But yeah, that's what you're getting. I'm getting, and then more of a sweet hay, or like a hay that's been cut, that's been in the barn for about a month or so. It's starting to dry out. That's what I'm getting, is like a sweet alfalfa profile. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into the first third of the Jaime Garcia by My Father. Alrighty. Okay, with that first third that we started just off the light, see, we are getting some smoke out of it, getting a little more of that cocoa coming through. I'm almost like I'm not going to say a burnt cocoa, but you can tell it's a little bit different cocoa profile. It's not a sweet cocoa, more of a baker's cocoa. After you exhale, the last little remnants of flavor is on the back of the palate, and it is a black pepper profile. Not a strong, overpowering black pepper, but I would say right there between a high white pepper and a black pepper. It's just like right there. And that's what's notorious, I think, in my opinion, with most Nicaraguan tobaccos. You get that peppery profile because it just seems like that's something that it takes on when you grow things in Nicaragua, especially tobacco. So with that said, we're going to keep going through the first third, and I'll be back for the second third after this. So stay tuned. All right, everybody, back for the second third of our My Father Jaime Garcia. And you can see that the cigar is burning really well. I mean, the ash is holding up. It's not razor sharp, as you can see. It's not perfectly straight across. Now, I do want to recommend that those who notice stuff like that, I notice it because I have a tendency sometimes when I'm smoking, smoke a little faster than normal. I don't know if it's I'm busy or I'm doing something and I'm just not paying attention. I'm just puffing away and not paying attention. I notice I start having burning issues when I do that. I'm one that likes to hold on to the cigar. I don't put it down in an ashtray and leave it sit for a while and then come back to it. I do it once in a while. I do that when I'm busy. But if I'm sitting and talking with someone and smoking, I always got it in my hand. So I notice that kind of stuff. And I notice that I cause a lot of that myself. It has nothing to do with the quality of the tobacco or the quality of the way it was blended. It's me. And if you happen to notice that, that's probably the same thing. Things that I really noticed that I want to let you guys know about are mice holes. Which are, say, for instance, you light the cigar and then you notice up here or on the back or up almost to the top here, you start to get a hole that burns bigger and makes a hole, and it's a mouse hole. And what that is, you got to remember they're handmade cigars, and that the veins in the tobacco leaf sometimes act as a wick and it pulls it up. But if they're bound and they're done properly, you hardly have issues like that. Now, if you get one the first time you've ever smoked a cigar, don't assume, and I've said this in most of my videos, don't assume it's the cigar, it's that type of cigar. It could be that specific cigar, because again, they're handmade. They're going to have human error in there, and if you got someone who is fairly new at rolling them, they're not an expert at it yet, you might have it. Another thing is tunneling, and that's if the middle burns faster than the outside burns, and then it tunnels in, and then it seems like you just keep relighting it, and then it gets hotter and hotter as you're smoking it, and you just started it. That's another issue. Or if it starts to burn, like how it's burning not even, but it keeps going on one side and not the other, again, that could be just something with that cigar. Now, if you buy a whole bundle or you buy a box of cigars and half of them do that, then I would recommend that's probably not a very good brand. And I'm not saying that there's brands out there that are notorious for that, but I've heard of guys saying, oh, I bought a whole bundle and 10 of the 20 don't work. Could have been just a messed up shipment. It could have been that bundle was stored wrong. I don't know. I mean, you got to imagine how far it's went from the leaf in the field to the barn to the rollers to boxed in the warehouse, sitting in the U.S. Customs to getting to the shop and then you getting it. Stuff happens, but if you have one, don't give up on it. Try another one, see if it's just happened to be that one cigar. And I know I rambled on about that, but I get a lot of questions like that. People ask, and don't make an assumption, because you know the old saying about assuming, and I'll leave it at that. But with that said, in the second third of the cigar, we're getting a little more of the earthy alfalfa profile. I am noticing a little bit of a leather profile on the back of the palate, and it's hard to explain because people always ask me, are you eating leather? No, I'm not eating leather. If you've ever went into a place that sells leather goods, either saddle shops or boot stores or wherever, and you take in a deep whiff of the room of leather, there is a certain profile that you get with leather. Now, because your sinuses are connected with your taste buds, you get that same thing in a cigar. Now, is it always that strong? No, it might be just real subtle. But the more you smoke cigars, the more you start to notice those things. And when you watch reviews, I've done that. What are guys getting? Or if I sit in a room with a bunch of guys and we're reviewing a cigar together, just checking it out for the first time. Hey, what are you getting? Hey, I'm getting that. Hey, you're getting that too. Okay, if there's 4 of us out of 5 getting that, it's probably what they were trying to aim at as blenders. Enough of that stuff. So with that said, so far so good. The burn's going to correct itself, as you can already see since I've been talking. It's evening up, and the ash obviously is not falling off. So for the second third of our cigar, I'm getting, like I said, more alfalfa, a little bit of leather. I am getting a little bit of that pepper, but it's not as predominant as in the front of the cigar in the first third. And I know with My Father cigars, they tend to sometimes have that throughout, but they're really known for predominantly pepper in the first and the final third of the cigar. But we'll keep smoking away, and I'll let you know what the final third is just after this. So hang on, and we'll be right back. Right, everybody, welcome back for the final third of our review of the Jaime Garcia by My Father. Now, in this final third, we are seeing that the burn has really corrected itself quite a bit. It's still a little uneven again. I'm probably smoking, like I said, faster than normal. But as you can see, haven't touched up the cigar since the whole time I've smoked it. I've let it correct itself. It's done that. And man, I have to say, if you haven't tried this cigar, this is a very good cigar. I know it's a very popular My Father cigar. It's one of their part of their core line that they release. They sell quite a few of them. They actually have, there's a review you can go back and look at. I did maybe a year ago, and they made the same cigar, but it was a TAA exclusive. What that means is that's Tobacconist Association of America. If I'm getting that right, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not. Other than knowing it as TAA, I really don't learn all the acronyms. But it is a specific cigar designed for shops that do carry that TAA rating. So they have the opportunity to get those special cigars that were blended for that TAA exclusive first to the public. And I had bought that at another shop, and like I said, it is in my history. You can go back and look at that video and see if there's any differences between the regular Jaime Garcia and that special edition. But with that said, man, you can see it, like I said, it's burning awesome. Its profile at this point is real. It's really mellowed out from what it was. They're getting a little bit of pepper coming back. That alfalfa is still there. A little bit of that sweetness is totally gone at this point. All I'm getting is that I'm getting a little more bold leather that I noticed in the second third. But with that said, everything about this cigar is great. And again, if you like this video, give me that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. I do want to take a moment and thank everyone who's watched the channel, who's contributed to the channel, as the comments and all the likes that I've received. I mean, I am approaching, I think I'm fairly close to the videos that I have produced. I'm almost at 150,000 views, which for me, that's phenomenal, and I appreciate everyone who is subscribed. You can also follow Cigars and Whiskey on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, have a great day, have a great smoke, and I will see you next time.